Welcome to the deep dive. Our mission, as always, is to take a whole heap of information and, well, give you the quickest path to the important stuff. Today, we're diving into something really specific, kind of fascinating, actually. It's a symbolic technique from astrology called the degree-year correspondence.
Yeah, it's a really intriguing one.
We're looking at this pretty stunning idea that the degrees in your birth chart, the 360 degrees of the zodiac, they actually work like a sort of internal timeline for your life.
Mm-hmm.
The core idea is, well, it sounds simple. 1 degree of a planet's position equals 1 year of your life. So, like, if your Saturn is parked at 15 degrees Gemini,
Right.
then age 15 gets flagged. It's potentially a year where Saturn's stuff, responsibility, maybe challenges, structure kind of comes to the forefront.
Exactly. And, for people who follow astrology closely, it's good to remember this isn't pulled out of thin air. This modern take,
Yeah.
the 1 degree, 1 year thing, it builds on older ideas.
Like perfections.
Yeah, perfections, secondary progressions, these classic timing methods that have always explored how the birth chart kind of unfolds over time.
Yeah.
We're really looking at the symbolic echo here, not making hard predictions.
Absolutely. This isn't about precise math predicting lottery wins. It's about pattern recognition. And we've pulled some really, frankly, jaw-dropping examples from our sources, high-profile lives, where this correlation just jumps out at you. So our mission today is to find those big aha moments, the ones that really showcase this thematic timing.
Yeah, looking for those moments where it feels like destiny kind of had an appointment scheduled.
Okay, let's get into it. Let's start with some figures who really changed the game in their industries. And we'll begin with transformation, big transformation. That means Pluto.
Right. Pluto doesn't really do small tweaks, does it? It's about those massive shifts, power, control, endings, rebirths, real foundational changes.
So we're hunting for Plutonian transformations.
Okay, first up, Steve Jobs. If you look at his birth chart, his Pluto's at 25 degrees Leo.
Leo. Okay, so sign of leadership, creativity, ego.
Exactly. And Pluto there really suggests a life path tied into wielding some kind of major transformative power, something really visible.
So 25 degrees, Leo. That points to age 25, right? If 1 degree equals 1 year. The universe seems to have penciled in a big Plutonian event right around then.
Mm-hmm.
So what happened? What was the big shakeup for Jobs right at that age?
Well, it was the Apple IPO, the initial public offering. That happened in 1980. And Jobs was exactly 25.
The IPO. Wow.
And the sources really stressed this wasn't just, a financial transaction. An IPO is fundamentally Plutonian.
How so?
Think about it. It taps into huge, often hidden pools of financial power, the markets. It takes a private thing like Apple in the garage and blasts it onto the global stage with massive systemic influence, control, resources.
And it completely transformed his status, didn't it? He went from being this, cult figure founder to suddenly being incredibly wealthy, powerful, a public force overnight, someone who could really challenge the giants like IBM.
That's pure Pluto. That shift in power, the scale of it,
Yeah.
the degree, the age, the symbolism, it lines up perfectly. It really marks that passage into a whole new realm of power for him.
It's incredibly compelling, I have to say. But, okay, let me play devil's advocate for a second. Is it possible we're just, picking the most famous thing that happened that year? Big people have big events happen all the time. How do we know it's not just coincidence?
That's a really fair question.
Yeah.
And that's exactly why just one example isn't enough. We need to compare. So let's look at his big rival, Bill Gates, another guy synonymous with, huge systemic power and reshaping technology.
Okay, good comparison. Where was Gates' Pluto?
Gates has Pluto at about 28 degrees Leo. So very close to Jobs', just 3 degrees later.
Still in Leo, though. Same theme.
Same core theme, exactly. Pluto and the sign of leadership. But the degree difference suggests his big Plutonian activation point would be around age 28, right? 3 years later than Jobs.
Makes sense. So what happened around age 28 for Gates? What was the defining power moment?
Well, in his 28th year, that was 1983, Gates officially unveiled the very first version of Windows.
Windows 1.0, okay.
Now, again, not just another product launch. This was the move, the mechanism that really cemented Microsoft's path to global dominance. Windows gave Gates and Microsoft control over the whole architecture of personal computing for decades.
Wow. Okay, putting these two side by side is pretty stunning.
Isn't it?
Both of them, these titans who basically define the digital age, this huge, powerful, often kind of hidden world of tech infrastructure, They both have these critical, world-shaping moments involving immense power building,
Right.
hitting almost exactly at the age linked to their Pluto degree.
The timing and the theme match up so closely. It really suggests that this core theme, systemic transformation, gathering massive control, it was somehow internally scheduled to activate right then for both of them. It set them on those paths.
Okay, let's pivot a bit. We've seen Pluto's heavy-hitting power. Let's shift gears to something more, well, personal, but just as visible. Relationships, beauty, public image.
Ah, so Venus territory.
Exactly. And let's talk about this idea of crystallization. What do we mean by that here?
Crystallization in this context is like
Mm.
when a planet's theme just becomes solid. It fully manifests. It becomes undeniable, maybe even central to how your life is structured from then on. It's the moment potential becomes like concrete reality.
Got it. So for this, let's look at Princess Diana and the planet Venus love, beauty, values, connection, but also public appeal.
Okay. Diana's Venus is at 24 degrees Taurus.
24 Taurus. Now, Taurus is ruled by Venus, right?
It is, which gives Venus extra strength there, makes it highly dignified, as astrologers say. It amplifies all those Venusian themes.
Mm-hmm.
Glamour, physical presence, her perceived value, relationships, her connection with the public, all heightened.
So the timeline points to age 24 for her Venusian themes to crystallize. Now, she got married younger, didn't she, to Prince Charles?
Yes, married at 20, turning 21 shortly after. So the wedding itself wasn't at age 24.
Okay, so what did happen around age 24 that marks this crystallization of her Venusian role?
Age 24 for her was 1985. And that period, according to the sources, is really when she fully cemented that role as the people's princess.
Oh.
She was deep into the demands of royal life by then, the high-profile appearances, the fashion icon status, that intense public adoration and scrutiny. The wedding was maybe the initiation, you could say.
Right.
But age 24 was when the role itself, with all its Venusian facets, the beauty, the public value, the focus on her relationship became absolutely central. It crystallized into this defining and, frankly, quite burdensome structure she lived within.
That makes a lot of sense. It wasn't predicting the wedding day itself, but the age when the theme of that public relationship, her value, her image, became the absolute core of her existence.
Precisely. The theme locks in.
So that's three major figures now, Jobs, Gates, Diana, covering really different planetary energies. Pluto for power, Venus for value and relationship. And all three seem to hit a peak thematic moment right around that degree year mark. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? How often are these patterns playing out in our lives, maybe unnoticed? And here's where I think it gets really interesting for everyone listening. Because, okay, we've talked about global IPOs and royal roles. Clearly not everyday stuff.
Right.
If someone's looking at their own chart, what does a degree year hit actually feel like? Is it always some huge external event? Or are we maybe just falling for confirmation bias, picking the biggest thing that happened that year and making it fit?
That's the crucial question. Absolutely. And you're right. The celebrity examples are dramatic. They're useful for illustrating the principle because they're so visible, but they are outliers.
Okay.
For most people, the activation is often much more subtle. It might be more psychological or maybe an event that's significant personally, but not, headline news.
Mm-hmm.
The real value here isn't predicting the future. It's looking back retrospectively and seeing the thematic logic in your own story.
Okay, so give us an example. Let's go back to that Saturn at 15 degrees idea.
Right. So Saturn degree hits at age 15. You're probably not launching a multinational corporation.
Probably not.
But maybe that was the year you had to get your first serious job, like really contribute financially at home. Or maybe there was a big challenge with parents or school that forced you to grow up fast, take on real responsibility. It's about that Saturn theme structure, limits, discipline, maturity, becoming very real in your personal world.
So the theme responsibility is the same, but the scale is just different. Domestic, personal.
Exactly. Or think about Mercury, planet of communication, thinking, learning. Let's say your Mercury degree is at 22.
Okay.
Maybe age 22 wasn't marked by some huge public speech, but perhaps that was the year you, signed up for a really demanding course that changed how you think. Or you launched your first blog or website, starting to put your voice out there. Or maybe you started a job that was super communication heavy. The crystallization is establishing a new way of thinking or communicating that shapes things going forward.
What about Mars? Action, drive, assertion. If someone's Mars degree activates at, say, age 30, we shouldn't expect them to, enlist in the army necessarily.
No, probably not. But Mars needs action. It needs energy to be directed. So, age 30 with a Mars activation. Maybe that's the year you finally commit to that intense fitness goal you've been putting off.
Ah, okay.
Or maybe you finally stand up to someone dominant at work, assert yourself. Or you decide to just ditch the routine, pack a bag, and go traveling solo. It's about the crystallization of your own drive, your physical energy, your courage to act.
You know, what's really clicking for me here is that this degree year idea trains us to stop looking just for the big flashy event
Yes.
and start paying attention to the quality, the underlying theme of that specific age.
That is the absolute core takeaway. That's the richness of this technique. It
Hmm.
gives you this lens to look back at your own life story and see a thematic consistency you might have missed.
Right.
So you look back at age 38, let's say, and you realize your Jupiter degree is 38.
Right.
And maybe that wasn't the year you won the lottery, but maybe it was the year you finally got that degree or qualification you'd wanted.
Or took that big trip.
Or took that life-changing trip, somewhere that totally expanded your horizons. Or maybe you received some kind of significant help or opportunity, a feeling of abundance. Jupiter isn't just luck in the simplistic sense. It's about growth, expansion, broadening your understanding, finding meaning.
So using this, we can kind of impose a meaningful structure onto what might have just felt like a random series of events in our past. It gives shape to those turning points.
It connects the dots. That's a great way to put it. When you see that, wow, a major shift happened in my relationships or how I value myself exactly on my Venus degree year, you start to feel like maybe the groundwork for where you are now was being laid right on schedule. It turns memory into something more, like recognizing destiny's pattern.
Okay, so we've really shown here how the zodiac can be more than just static symbols of personality. It can act like this dynamic, unfolding timeline. These planetary degrees seem to almost set appointments for certain themes to really come alive.
Yeah, and when you look at the examples from those high-stakes Pluto moments for jobs and gates, right through to something as personal yet public as Diana's Venus role, the timing, the synchronicity, it's hard to ignore.
So let's bring it home for everyone listening. The actionable takeaway for you. Here it is. Find out the exact degrees of your own planets. Your Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, maybe Pluto too.
You can find calculators online easily if you know your birth time.
Right. And then ask yourself, thinking back to the age corresponding to each degree, what really shifted for you then? What changed? And don't just look for the big external drama. Look for the internal shifts, too. Changes in responsibility, communication, values, action.
Look for the crystallization of that planet's theme in your own life, big or small.
Exactly. And that leads us to our final provocative thought for you to chew on. This degree year technique, if there's something to it, it suggests that maybe life's major milestones, those moments that really define your path and change your direction, maybe they aren't quite as random as they feel.
It suggests there might be an internal clock, a sort of thematic schedule, set right from the moment you were born.
Yeah.
And if you start to understand that clock, maybe you stop seeing your life as just one thing after another.
And start recognizing your own history as a kind of purposeful unfolding, a schedule with meaning, something to think about.